Welcome back to the District Territory Podcast and happy Saturday to all of our listeners. I'm Eric Shellhouse from the Bat Boys. And joining me, Spencer Nussbaum of The Athletic. The Nationals couldn't get the job done last night, but they got two more against the D-backs later on today. But let's open up with Spencer's story from The Athletic earlier today. Spencer, some evaluators are saying that the Nationals will be sellers at the deadline. Some are saying will be buyers. Walk me through it and what you had this morning.
Yeah, so obviously I've been kind of canvassing the league, trying to figure out exactly what the Nationals will do. The overwhelming sentiment from people I talked to around the league is they kind of expected the Nationals to be sellers, or at least to sell off some pieces at the deadline. Um, that all is expected given where the Nationals are at in their competitive window. What was far more surprising to me, uh, I heard on good grounds yesterday was that the Nationals plan to buy at least a little bit at the deadline, which again is something we can talk about throughout the course of this episode. But before we get into the specifics of who that could be, or how much they'll buy, or anything like that, which are all good questions we'll get to, I just think it's a really notable development that this team has put itself in a position where they were supposed to be taking a long-term view and still are, but they were also supposed to be terrible, right? And they have put themselves in a position where they're good enough where they're going to at least buy a little bit. And I think that is huge and a testament to what the clubhouse and the players have done this season.
Yeah, if you look at this team's record month by month, it's not 2019, 19 and 31 horrendous start, but this wasn't a blazing start. It's not like this was jumping off of you on paper as like, oh, the rebuild is thriving. But here we are sitting at the end of the July as the deadline approaches, and the Nationals are in serious contention here. I'm going to bring up the NL East standings and then the National League wild card standings. The Marlins have just fallen off the face of the earth, 10 losses in a row, which has allowed the Nationals to kind of remain in it here, as that's one of the teams they're jugging with. The loss to the Diamondbacks, a big one last night, as they're chasing them for that final wild card spot along with the Phillies right now. But it's remarkable, as you mentioned, Spencer, that the Nationals have found themselves in the first season here, and it's a testament not just to the players, but also the new regime that has come in here and brought in this new era of Nationals baseball.
Absolutely right. Like, I have to credit the players first and foremost because they are the ones like throwing the ball, hitting the ball, all those things. But yeah, I mean, this doesn't happen without a serious regime change, right? Where you have, as we've talked about many times, new technology, clearer approaches, more data, more refinement, a clear alignment from the Dominican up through the major leagues, right? You're having the same messages preached everywhere. All these things have created a system and an environment where the Nationals are kind of built to thrive. Um, and it's been so encouraging to see, given where this team was at, at this same point last year, or maybe I should even say 13 months ago, given that there was an interim general manager in Mike DeBartolo, who kind of set some of these wheels in motion. So yeah, I think really encouraging stuff. And yeah, we can get into the nitty gritty whenever.
Yeah, I want to jump into that. Last episode, we talked about Luis Garcia Jr. a lot. He's definitely a fan favorite here in Washington, but I know a lot of small market teams probably go through this frequently at the deadline. Not to say Washington's a small market sports city, but these top names, C.J. Abrams and Foster Griffin, that's two of the Nats' three All Stars. You can't think there's a universe where they're moving James Wood. But to have them and Luis Garcia Jr. being the three names that jump off on paper to me, that's frustrating to hear that those are kind of the top names. But if you look at the other 29 teams, you gotta wear it with, I guess, a sense of respect, maybe, and say, hey, they want these guys on their team.
Right, and that's the big part too, right? Is if the Nationals buy, it will come with some selling. I think that's effectively inevitable at this point. The degree to which they sell is uncertain. As we reported at the Athletic, all three of those guys we've named could still be Nationals on August 4th. Um, which of those three will be, again, still kind of parsing that out. Um, but the reason that these guys are in these trade talks is because other teams value them so highly, where there isn't a lot of infield power help on the market, and Garcia fits that mold perfectly and is turning himself into one of the premier bats, frankly, in all of baseball. CJ, I think his kind of case speaks for itself. I don't need to get into all of that, but um, there is a real case for moving him if you think World is lengthened by the potential of what you get back there. And with Foster, I mean, he's an expiring contract at the end of this year, and so while there are levers they can pull in terms of an extension or extending the qualifying offer or um, just things of that nature, right? Or re-signing him in free agency, um, it'd be really tough to let him go and not get anything back. And I think that's something the team has to weigh when they know, hey, maybe we can keep our postseason window open this season, but our World Series window is ultimately what matters. And yeah, they're not winning a World Series this year. I think that's pretty fair to say. And so that'll factor in as well, I believe.
Yeah. And Abrams is a guy that I think his name pops up every deadline because you've seen that the raw potential is there, and now over the stretch of the entire season, just terrific. And he keeps it going into the second half this year. He is such an interesting one to me that is clearly now a proven part of hopefully future World Series pushes. Maybe it's not this season, but hey, maybe he's a part of a pennant push this season and the World Series next season. Is there any potential this season before we get into the off season that there's an extension for him or talks to make him a national for a longer period of time, Spencer?
Yeah, again, I don't really want to get into that without having all the reporting shored up. What I would tell fans, and we'll have something up on this in the next coming days, so I feel comfortable saying it. Um, Part of the reason why it feels so unlikely, and that is not me directly saying it is unlikely, but why it feels unlikely is just, I mean, there's so much working against it, right? Where you look at, his value, what he could make in free agency, right? He'd be a 28-year-old shortstop. He'd basically be him, Gunnar Henderson, and maybe one other guy on the market as a premier guy. If you're a premier shortstop, like that number is not small that it starts with, and it's especially not small when you have 10 teams negotiating against each other for your services. I think the other case that makes it at least something that Washington could have a little trouble stomaching is how much internal strength they have at the position, which again, like those are mystery boxes, and CJ Abrams is much less of a mystery box. We kind of know what he is at this point, and we know how much he's grown every season. But when you have Eli Willits, when you have Seaver King, when you have, I could list seven other infielders in the system, it's different than if you're giving an extension to a pitcher where you say, hey, we're really weak at the spot, and we're, at least in the minor leagues, trending in the right direction, but nowhere near that sort of depth that they have in the infield. So those are at least two things I'm considering as I try to figure this out. But yeah, I think it's still kind of TBD as to whether an extension is a real possibility or not.
Yeah. We'll jump into some more of that next week. Really quickly, bring up the Nats' upcoming schedule for you. They have the Diamondbacks, two more, and then the Blue Jays to wrap up the homestand, and then the Braves and Phillies. That is going to be a testing road trip. But if you're looking for tickets to get over to the ballpark today, think about SeatGeek. I want to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's video, SeatGeek. With over 35 million downloads, SeatGeek is the number one rated ticketing app. There are more than 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek, including concerts, sports, festivals, and more. Saturday is going to be Harry Potter Day over at the ballpark, folks. Figure out which house you're a part of. Sunday is the Kids Plus keychain. There's a lot of exciting stuff going on, whether it's a Nats game or any MLB game. Check in with SeatGeek. SeatGeek is MLB's official ticket marketplace, and your tickets are fully guaranteed and instantly fulfilled in your account after purchase. We got NBA season, NFL, whatever it is coming up, rely on SeatGeek. And of course, they have the bubbles. You're familiar with them. It's easy to read and understand. I got a code for all of you wonderful people. You can use code Territory10 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with promo code Territory10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Big shout out to SeatGeek. Spencer, you were over at the ballpark last night. The Nats, this was an interesting game. It was a clean ball game. The Nats trailed early. The Diamondbacks scrapped together 2 runs in the second inning, but Dylan Cruz had an answer for that. He tied it up 2-2 in the bottom of the fourth with this roaring home run. And over the last 6 games, Dylan has been on a cruising streak 6 for 20, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, 4 walks. I just want to take a moment to give him his flowers because it has been such a drastic turnaround where you look at where he started the season at AAA to where he's been at the last couple of weeks. And the Nat, I think, we've been seeing this Nats fans on this just underneath the surface for the last month or so here, and to see the results on paper the last couple of weeks, I'm so happy for Dylan.
Yeah, I we talked to Dylan after yesterday's game and kind of touched a lot of these topics. One of the most important things to me is him getting comfortable and relaxed in the box. We often use that phrasing with CJ Abrams as well, and I think it's apt. He looks especially comfortable against lefties right now, where I think the OPS at the start of yesterday it was a 900. It might be higher now. Um, but yeah, he's so comfortable and locked in against lefties, and I think a lot of that production has been against left-handed pitching. The next step for him is clearly getting that relaxed and comfortable against righties as well. That is who he will need to have at least some kind of baseline level of success to really like whatever he's having a productive season to really blossom as like a guy that is going to take better results against right-handed pitching, something he has acknowledged himself. But yeah, I think that we have, given where the swing um, was at in spring training, right? It was enough for the Nationals to send him down, something they did not really want to do, something obviously if you're a big leaguer, you don't want to do, right? Is go down to Rochester, but he took that assignment well, and yeah, he's clearly looked against left-handed pitching specifically. But I still worry about some of the at bats against righties, but this is definitely a positive step and something that he can hold on to and say, "Hey, I can build off of this."
Unfortunately, after that, there wasn't much offense for the Nationals, but this is what the box scores looked like in many games this season. Blake Butera used all of his resources, everything that he could, pulled out all the stops. But in the top of the seventh inning, Gabby Moreno was able to bring home a run on a sacrifice fly, made it 3-2. Paul Sewald locked down the save. So, kudos to the D backs pitching. But if you look at the Nats pitching box score, it's not anything to cry over. 3 runs will usually win you a ball game. And for Zach Littell, I think this is a pretty good, pretty positive outing. Claps for that against this Diamondbacks lineup, given what he has been this season.
Yeah, and a lot of focus for Littell and I'd say the Nationals at large is leaning into like what makes him special and what their best pitch is. You saw him use his slider, or excuse me, his splitter about 36% of the time yesterday. That is his best pitch. That is something where he has gotten away from that at times this season. I think you will see even more emphasis on that pitch, and you will see even more emphasis on everyone's best pitch down the stretch as the Nationals try to figure this out. I think they are trying to lean even harder into that strategy, and they were already leaning pretty hard into it at the start. So I honestly wouldn't be shocked if we see Littell's like get up over 40%. And, it could really help given what the results have been this season.
Yeah. Let's get back to the trade front. It's all anything wants to talk or hear about. If there's one thing the Nets may need in addition to the relief pitching, it's the starting pitching. In my eyes, Spencer, the offense is clearly clicking on all cylinders on any given night. It seems like, but are there names popping up to you that have stuck out? I read earlier today that the Angels may be expected to sell a little harder than they have at previous deadlines. They're not notorious for being aggressive buyers or sellers. Uh, but Jose Soriano is a name that comes to mind to me as far as a guy that I'm like, hey, that the results have been there. 8-6 this season with a 3.43, a career 3.77. That's a guy that I'd love for the Nats to add to the rotation. But are there any starting pitchers that you see that would be noteworthy additions?
Well, I think Soriano is an interesting name, right? Where are the Nationals front runners for him? Absolutely not. Again, as we talked about last episode, there are so many teams that are more motivated to buy than the Nationals are, which is candidly why you don't probably see them coming from this deadline with a true postseason type arm. Um, but there are absolutely names out there, and this is also something I wanted to talk about, right? Where you look at guys on expiring contracts and you think, why would the Nationals go after them right ending the season? But I was told yesterday, like that's going to be in their calculus, right? They understand that their postseason are not zero, and if there's a way to build some sort of momentum where you're giving yourself still a decent shot to make the postseason this year, or at least have a good stretch run, there's real value. Uh, while I'm still exploring who the specific actually be. And a lot of that would be floated more than like, oh, so and so is definitely a Washington National. I think it's really interesting that the window of who they could acquire is far wider open than I candidly would have guessed, 72 hours ago, right? Because all of a sudden, pool of players expiring contracts where and I'm not saying they are definitely going to get an expiring contract. They still could get a controllable guy. Um, but if you're a Nats fan and you're looking out there, like, congrats, you just got another hour of research because you can basically look anywhere on the market and say, hey, if this guy can do anything on the mound, can he fit on the Nationals? And I think that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting. It just is a lot more active than it has been at previous deadlines for the Nationals. That is for sure. I want to remind our subscribers or our non-subscribers to subscribe really quickly to the District Territory YouTube channel or listen to us on Apple, Spotify. Check in, follow there, whatever it is. Once we get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, we're going to be giving away this Eli Willett signed baseball card. Take a quick break, but we'll finish up with some more Nats talk when we come back.
This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Baseball fans, think you know who's hitting a homer today? Well, FanDuel is giving you a free chance to call your shot with daily dingers. Joining the action is easy. Just make your free pick on who's hitting a home run in their game, and if you're right, you'll get a profit boost to use on your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. You've got nothing to lose and a lot to gain. And don't forget, you can make a free pick every day, all season long. It's just another reason why FanDuel is the home for home runs. So, are you ready to play your game today? Join all the action at fanduel.com/podcast. That's fanduel.com/podcast to play daily dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel, an official partner of Major League Baseball. 21 plus select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino. 18 plus DC, Kentucky, Wyoming. No purchase necessary. Opt-in required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Call 1-800-MY-RESET. 1-888-789-7777. Visit ccpg.org/chat Connecticut. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org Maryland. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org. Call 800-327-5050 Massachusetts. Call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY. Text HOPE-NY New York. Call 1-877-770-7867 Louisiana.
It's your last chance to head over to the foulterritoryshop.com and shop the All-Star Collection. We got Foster Griffin, James Wood, and of course, C.J. Abrams merchandise there. Let's give you a look at Saturday's pitching preview. Mitch Bratt, a young left-handed arm against an older left-handed arm that has been quite reliable. It's Foster Fest for the Nationals later today. Due to his nails last time against a bopping athletics lineup. I'm trying to search for a word, but I'm just going to go with bopping. Spencer, what's going to be key for him today against the D-backs to keep on rolling as he has been?
Yeah, I mean it's hard for me to say anything we haven't already heard because he has done this 8 starts in a row where he's put up one or few allowed one or few earned runs against. It's just remarkable. Last time out, it was kind of funny as you put that up on the screen, right? Where it's 1 run, it's 2 strikeouts. We've seen more swing and miss from him than that. But no matter what the lineup is, he seems to know which pockets he needs to avoid and which ones he needs to really go after. This Diamondbacks lineup is really top heavy. And so I think when you try to factor in, hey, where might you run into trouble? It is the fact that you go Marte to Carroll. There's not like a weak spot there per se. But if he can handle the top of that lineup, I strongly believe he could do this for a ninth straight time, which is maybe an unfair expectation to set, but something that will be really enticing for fans to watch today.
Definitely. And as we mentioned before, as you all should know, Nats fans, this is a big one. They are chasing the D backs. So if you're over at the ballpark later today or tomorrow, whenever you're at the ballpark, make some noise. The boys need your support. Spencer, you're going to be headed over there soon, but anything you want to toss in before we head out?
No, I think that's it. Just I'd recommend reading that story we talked about over at The Athletic, and we might have something else interesting for you guys at some point today or tomorrow. That yeah, I'd recommend refreshing the page if you want to.
Of course, don't forget to subscribe to District Territory on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Music, whatever it is. I know there's a few others where you can get podcasts. Until next time, see you later.